You have been told your entire life that human beings are entirely unique. You think that spirituality is a magical, uniquely human invention. You believe that the profound feeling of awe belongs only to our species. But the cold truth is much more unsettling, strange, and beautiful. Look closely at the incredibly complex natural world living all around you. The truth is that wild animals experience deep spiritual awe too. Your deep desire to understand the universe is not a standalone miracle. It is an ancient, deeply embedded evolutionary response to the massive world. You look up at the dark sky to bring order to a chaotic universe. Animals do the exact same thing in the darkest corners of the deep wild. This is not a romantic theory or a wild anthropomorphic myth. It is a documented, deeply studied, and scientifically proven biological reality. Scientists call this fascinating field of study evolutionary zoo spirituality. They have discovered something completely mind-blowing about wild animal behavior. Animals are not just mindless biological machines focused on eating and sleeping. They actively pause to experience intense wonder, deep grief, and profound awe. Let us dive into the dense, dark, and mysterious jungles of West Africa. Consider the highly intelligent and incredibly emotional wild chimpanzee. For a very long time, scientists observed chimpanzees in their natural habitat. They recorded them hunting for food, grooming each other, and sleeping. We arrogantly assumed they were completely driven by basic, primitive biological needs. But renowned primatologist Jane Goodall discovered something completely incredible and bizarre. She observed wild male chimpanzees approaching massive, roaring jungle waterfalls. Instead of just drinking the water or simply walking away, they stopped entirely. The massive chimpanzees began to perform a strange, highly rhythmic, swaying dance. They would rhythmically throw heavy rocks into the rushing white water. They would swing wildly from the wet vines hanging directly over the waterfall. They would stare deeply into the massive, rushing torrent of heavy water for hours. They were not doing this to find food or to fight off rival predators. They were displaying a deep, profound sense of awe at a massive natural force. Jane Goodall herself described this as the very beginning of primitive religion. She realized that these intelligent animals were moved by the sheer majesty of the water. They did not understand where the endless rushing water came from or where it went. It was a complete mystery to them, an overwhelming force much larger than their own lives. The chimpanzees recognize that the waterfall is massive, powerful, and completely unstoppable. They feel a deep primal sense of wonder in the face of such raw power. They are essentially performing a primitive ritual to respect the terrifying power of nature. They are experiencing the exact same feelings that early humans felt during massive thunderstorms. But chimpanzees are not the only highly intelligent animals that exhibit this complex behavior. Let us move from the dense African jungle to the wide, dusty plains of the savanna. Look at the incredibly emotional and deeply sensitive African elephant. Biologists have carefully studied the complex social behavior of these massive ancient mammals. They discovered that elephants possess a deep, profound understanding of life and death. When an elephant tragically dies in the wild, the rest of the herd does not just leave. They do not simply abandon the massive body and continue migrating for fresh water. They stop completely and gather closely around their fallen friend or family member. The elephants will gently and quietly touch the dead body with their sensitive trunks. They will stand in a completely silent, mournful circle for hours or even days. This complex behavior is completely useless for their immediate physical survival. It actually puts them at great risk from predators and dangerous dehydration. But they do it anyway because they feel a deep, overwhelming sense of grief. They are honoring a deep, complex social bond that has been permanently severed by death. Even more incredible, elephants will interact with the ancient bones of other elephants. If they find a skeleton from an elephant that died many years ago, they stop. They will gently pick up the dry, bleached bones and pass them around the quiet herd. They will specifically examine the skull and the ivory tusks, ignoring the bones of other animals. They will stand completely still, clearly contemplating the heavy reality of mortality. They seem to recognize exactly who the deceased elephant used to be in the past. This acts exactly like a quiet, respectful human funeral or a solemn vigil. The elephants literally understand the complex, terrifying concept of a life ending. They possess the emotional capacity to mourn those who have completely passed away. They are actively confronting the heavy, dark mystery of existence and mortality. This amazing study proves that spiritual grief is an incredibly deep, primal emotion. It is not a modern human invention created by ancient philosophers in Greece. It is a biological drive to respect the massive, confusing cycle of life and death. This brings us back to our closest genetic relatives in the thick forest. Consider again the complex societies of chimpanzees studied in recent modern research. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute discovered another completely bizarre, ritualistic behavior. They observed chimpanzees engaging in strange, repetitive rock throwing at specific hollow trees. The chimpanzees were carefully collecting large, heavy rocks from the dense forest floor. They would carry these specific rocks to massive, ancient trees in the deep jungle. Then they would violently hurl the rocks against the echoing wood of the tree. They would pile the heavy stones inside the dark, hollow roots of the massive tree. They did not use these rocks to break open delicious nuts or fruit. They simply built these elaborate rock shrines for no practical survival reason whatsoever. Just like humans building strange stone cairns or altars in ancient, holy places, these chimpanzees are showing the very first sparks of spiritual expression and ritual. They are attributing special, almost magical significance to a specific physical location. An appreciation for the sacred is not just a random quirk of an advanced brain. It is a profound way of trying to make sense of a terrifying, unpredictable universe. It is a way of imposing a tiny bit of spiritual order on a chaotic, wild world. It is a biological way of saying, we are small and this world is massive, so why does any of this actually matter to your busy, modern human life? Why should you care if a chimpanzee dances or an elephant quietly mourns? Because it completely and utterly shatters the arrogant illusion of human spiritual superiority. You have always falsely believed that your massive churches make you fundamentally different. You thought your amazing ability to feel religious awe was a unique spiritual gift. But wild nature has been actively experiencing profound wonder for millions of years, long before early humans ever looked up at the stars and prayed for rain. Chimpanzees were dancing in deep reverence at the base of massive, roaring waterfalls. Elephants were holding quiet, solemn vigils over the dusty bones of their ancient ancestors. Chimpanzees were intentionally building strange, primitive shrines at the base of sacred trees. Your specific human capacity for spiritual awe is just the latest version of this instinct. You are not above the wild, incredibly mysterious, and powerful natural world. You are deeply, tragically, and beautifully entangled within its ancient spiritual web. Your intense desire to understand your place in the universe is a deeply wild impulse. Your desperate need to find meaning in the chaos is a basic, raw primal instinct. The feeling of awe begins the moment a brain becomes highly conscious and aware. It begins when you finally realize that you are completely dwarfed by massive forces. You realize that you are just a temporary, fleeting spark in the dark. You are a tiny, fragile creature living in a terrifyingly massive and ancient universe. The next time you look at a stunning, massive cathedral or a beautiful, quiet temple, do not just see the simple stone bricks or the beautiful, colorful stained glass. Do not just think about the human ego that built the massive, towering structure. Listen to the deep, massive evolutionary history echoing loudly in that human masterpiece. Think about the chimpanzees dancing by the waterfall and the elephants holding vigil. Listen to the ancient primal need for order, meaning, and beautiful spiritual connection. We are all just extremely, undeniably small, scared, fragile animals trying to find deep meaning before we die. We build cathedrals. They build stone shrines. We are the exact same wild spirit. If this terrifying, beautiful truth resonates with your wild sentience, make sure to leave a like, Discord to the channel, and join our growing, thoughtful community of deep thinkers. Share your own unique experiences with animal intelligence and awe in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in the next video.